So of course the miracle happened where I touched grass. Now every gamer has to face their fears at one point, and I finally did it. The story I'm about to tell you is fully true, and I feel like you couldn't experience anywhere else. So I needed some money, and my dad happened to have a job for me, so I went to go do some side work with my dad. That's where the story begins. Very simple, very calm, very good start to a story. Now we went to Buffalo to work. This is pretty far away from me, so it's a nice drive out there to Buffalo, but I've been there once or twice, you know. We did the work, of course, around 6 p.m. though. We thought, okay, let's go get McDonald's and go like chill for a little bit because my boss or whatever you call him, the guy who was helping us out and driving us around and giving us money for work, had to go do something. So he was just gonna leave us at McDonald's and Tim Hortons so we could go do our own thing for a little bit. Immediately upon jumping out of the car, we encountered the Fent monster. Now, this man, I couldn't tell you what was wrong with him, but there was some screws loose in his brain. I tried to ignore his existence because he was saying like, oh, I got all the drugs. I got weed, I got coke, I got heroin, and I got meth. And I just tried to ignore his existence because that man was obviously not my type. I myself am not a Fent graduate, so I just couldn't comprehend his level of thinking. Immediately after he's done jump scaring us, another person comes up. This person is a dope addict, and they just want money to go get some heroin. They ask for some change for some food. Now, I'm not mean to homeless people because I'm not going to say all of them do drugs. That's a bad take. But this person was literally just doing circles around McDonald's and Tim Hortons, asking people for money, and never bought food. So I feel like there's a hidden thing there. Just using my brain there. The dude who was driving us happened to be nice, so he gave her a bit of money. I think like $7 and change, something like that. After our mild bit of tomfoolery with this, we thought, okay, it's about time. I'm fucking hungry. Let's go get some burgers. Now, upon walking up to this McDonald's, for some odd reason, there was like 5 or 6 cop cars parked out front. No clue why when we were walking up. That's just an automatic cops. I made a joke about how that just makes sense. Why the cops, of course, are going to be at McDonald's. What the fuck else are they going to do? So then we went up to the kiosk machine. Me and my dad are illiterate or something, so we spent 20 minutes fiddling with it until we got our burgers and we were happy. Either way, it would have been faster to just talk to a person, but we're going to ignore that. So after we make our order, we get our number, we're waiting for our order to be called. We go take a seat. Now we sit down next to this crowd of cops. Because there were 6 cop cars parked out front. There's 15 cops inside. There's just a bunch of people in there. Now I look to my right because we sat just a little bit away from where the cops were all standing. And there's just a woman completely slumped over, food scattered all about on the ground. 100% dead. I'm just done. And I was, of course, eavesdropping. I wanted to figure out more on this information. Apparently, she had been there for 5 hours. Now, this wasn't like a brand new thing. I think she had a heart attack from how it looked. You know, you could say OD with how I was just talking about the Fent addict and the dope addict. But I really think this was just a heart attack because she was fat. And I feel like it's more ironic in my brain to think it was a heart attack in McDonald's. And I feel like that just makes it at least funny. In a way. Death is not funny, of course. But. Now, of course, the cops didn't just, like, look at her and poke her with a stick. The paramedics and the firemen eventually arrived. I went outside to just smoke a cigarette while I was waiting. That's when I saw them pull up, and I walked back in to see what was happening. And they were, like, giving her, like, a few CPR. The bag they have that you, like, squeeze to get your breathing going. They gave a few half-hearted attempts. They didn't want to make a scene, I feel like. It was a good point brought up by my dad as well. They didn't want to make a scene because there was like 7 kids just staring at the dead woman on the bench in McDonald's. The cops were somewhat trying to form a shield to like block people from seeing it. But then eventually the paramedics came in with a gurney. They tossed her on the gurney, wheeled her out. Now, normally in a situation like that, if somebody's alive in a very critical state, they'd throw on the sirens, head back. But they just kept the sirens off and drove away. So you can kind of insinuate that didn't make it out well, unfortunately. So after that happened, I don't know why that happened, it occurred. We were eating our food for like 10-20 minutes after the woman was removed from the place and everything was going on. And then the workers eventually walk up, don't move a thing. And I watch him like with the all-purpose cleaner just for like fucking 5 minutes straight on literally everything. Like every bag, every crumb of food, any surface near where she was hit with that. And he was so monotone while doing it. That's what confused me. Like how there was like 8 people looking at the dead woman. She was there for 5 fucking hours in a McDonald's in the middle of Buffalo. Like, it just baffles me. But that's not where this story ends. So, of course, we head over to the Tim Hortons right by. Now, this is important. That's why I said Buffalo. I live in Western New York. You don't get the luxury of my Tim Hortons, you other American scum. On the way to Tim Hortons, of course, the woman doing circles around Tim Hortons and McDonald's asking for change asks us for change again. Just gotta hit you with a jump scare once in a while. Sometimes you just don't feel enough in your life. The dude who was the Fent graduate was still doing circles around the place. He was just spewing nonsense, of course, as Fent graduates do. Now, it was a complete opposite contrast from McDonald's to Tim Hortons. McDonald's, no outlets. Like, there was nothing to charge your phone. They didn't want you staying there. Tim Hortons, they had outlets. There was not a dead person in there. There was only 2 people in there, and they weren't kids. They were just adults getting some coffees. It was a little later, so I guess they shouldn't have been in there, but they were. I was getting a coffee, so. The next thing that happens, I see a dude walking up. He looks very stout, very well-dressed. At first, I thought, damn, is that the manager? He coming up in here fucking ready. I thought it was more of the regional manager, to be completely honest. But then, I saw a gun on his waist. Like, open carry. I live in New York. That's not legal. So I knew immediately this man's a cop. Because he's well-dressed. He had a utility belt, I realized. This was a detective, because he didn't have a vest on either, and he also rolled up in an unmarked car. He was ordering a drink, and he was also asking the clerk if she had seen a dude. Now, I remember the description about this dude perfectly. He didn't show me a picture, but I want to believe in my head it works out this way. It was a black guy, black hoodie. He had a black tattoo on his left hand. That was the exact description I heard for, like, everything I could just make out of it. And he orders his drink, heads out. I remember the clerk says, you should probably check the bars, because he was robbing liquor stores. So he walks over to the bar next door, and I shit you not, the next person to walk in is a dude who exactly matches the description. Like, 1 for 1, right on the description. Black dude, black hoodie, tattoo, black on his left hand. Like, black tattoo. No, he doesn't even go in the Tim Hortons to, like, order a drink or anything. He goes in there to use the internet. He calls this dude named Miranda, yells at her, yells at some dudes to pick him up, yells at some more people on his phone, looks at me. Yo, could I get some weed? No, it's New York. It's a legal state. So, but no, I don't do that kind of partaking. Along with the fact that I was 90% sure this man was the guy they were looking for just a moment ago. I just didn't want to participate with him at that moment. So me and my dad wrapped up what we were doing in Tim Hortons, of course, eventually, because they had to close the doors, the diner. We had out and sat on the curb for a little while waiting for our ride. While we were sitting on the curb, I was near the window of McDonald's, and I happened to hear a dude selling some weed out the window of a drive-thru at McDonald's. So I thought that guy was pretty smooth with it, good money, profitable man. Oh yeah, and then the Fent graduate came back. He came back to say he only smokes weed now. Revelations. He gave up on the other stuff. It wasn't working out for him, so he only smokes weed. I did see a joint in his hand. It was all the weed's fault. That's about where this story ends. It didn't get any crazier, lucky enough. But you all have a good day, night, or whatever time it is for you. Subscribe. We're making it to 1 million tomorrow. Alright, peace.